Hello, everyone. Hope you're enjoying your day. Welcome back to Real Talks One podcast. Today, our topic for discussion is very interesting one. It is with respect to relationships, family, parenting, and I think in the next few minutes we are going to do a deep dive between how kids are raised in U.S. versus India from an immigrant Indian perspective, and we will walk through various things, what are working fine, what are not working fine, and things along those lines. And I'll be very happy to answer any questions, or if you have your own examples that you wanted to share either in this live session or over the once the podcast gets posted on YouTube, we'll be more than happy to answer those questions. So let's start by understanding the key differences between how society has evolved in the US versus India. So in the US, there is a very high emphasis on individualism, being independent, having an independent thought, trying to please yourself rather than caring for anybody else. And this has helped a lot of people to become very confident. This has helped people to basically not care about like what other thinks of you and continue down the path that you think is right. As a result, today has become one of the biggest economies in the world. You have companies and enterprises, startups that are like the best in the world, and everyone tries to kind of mimic US. And of course, it is one of the richest country in the world as well. So, if you see right now, the parenting style here in the US is such where you do not try to mold children, you try to give them like freedom from very early age. One thing I have seen, especially for younger kids, when the kid is born, here there is a tendency in the US that young kids do not sleep with their mom. They have a separate crib where children are put, and oftentimes those rooms are also different where the parents sleep and the toddlers are sleeping. Whereas if you compare this with some of the Indian families or even Hispanic families, younger kids, especially toddlers, even at the age of like 5 6 years, they continue to sleep with their parents right now. Now, I would like to go a little bit into deeper into like what are pros and cons of these approaches and how you should like look at it. So when kids are born, they are in the womb and they like the warmth of the mother, and they would like to they feel secure when they are next to the parents. Actually, in the US, it is advised that the kids should be sleeping separately in the crib so that they can become independent and they can manage their own emotions. Oftentimes I have seen when kids try to be separate, they do not build so much strong bonds with the parents actually. So you would see that many times when the kids are left by themselves, they'll continue to keep crying and nobody will console them. So there is only a limit to which a person can cry, right? So they'll cry for let's say 15 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour, and then basically they'll basically sleep over it. Whereas in India, you would see as soon as a kid cries, etc., either the mother or the father tries to console the kid, take them towards them. And as I said, in Indian perspective, even in the US, kids basically tend to sleep with the parents. Uh, and that's how it is. Like when I was growing up, I did that too. We have a kid, our kid does that too, sleep together. And we never had this concept of like, crib, or like even we never even thought of like separating them out. Now recent studies are coming across which are telling that kids needs a lot of dependence and comfort, and by sleeping together they get the warmth and like security that their parents are with them, while if they are separate, then any kind of nightmares or any kind of things that they get, there is nobody but only themselves out there. So oftentimes, many times when the kids sleep separate, they can do bedwetting, they can have nightmares, and if anything is happening to the kids at that point of time, you would not get to know. So for the kids who are at a very tender age, like less than like 1 or 2 years old, they can't even speak very well or can tell exactly what is going on. So if they are sleeping in a separate room or in a separate crib, it becomes extremely difficult to even tell like whether they had like a fever or they're having some pain, etc. And if you have a habit of leaving the kids to their own antics, especially when kids are like cranky, they're shouting, etc., you cannot differentiate, are they really in pain and that is why they're shouting, or is this just a tantrum that they're throwing in. But if you are with them, you're sleeping with them, then you'll get to know like when they're playing a tantrum, when they're actually in pain, when they're frustrated, and things along those lines. um, so because of this focus on individuality from the very starting, as the kids starts growing up, they tend to focus on their own personality, having their own personal space, etc. So there is not much sharing between parents and the kids here in the US. Whereas the kids who tend to like kind of sleep together, etc., they have a very close bond with the parents, because at least in the formative years they have spent time very close together. So in this case, I would say that people should really evaluate that, whether they want to basically have kids sleep in a crib or want to have them sleep with them. uh, One concern I have seen many people make is, if the small kids which are just like few months, like 3 4 months old, etc., sleep with the parents, then while sleeping, parents can basically come over the kid and kid can get hurt. I don't think any person in the right mind can do that. No matter how deep sleep you have, when you know somebody else is sleeping with you, especially your kid, etc., you always have this in your mind that you will not basically land on top of them to basically bruise them or like suffocate them, right? So you'll maintain a distance. So I don't think this thinking that many doctors say that you can basically crush the child under your own weight, etc., if you sleep together, etc., I have never seen that happen in India. Or even like we have also in our case, our kids sleeps together. Never seen that happen. Have so many kids in our own family, all stay together. Never saw that happen. So that concern that some of the doctors tell here doesn't basically make sense actually. So let me read a question. I've got a comment by Shailesh Karnani. My aunt hurt my cousin when he was pretty young, so cases are there. So Shailesh, I'm not going to say that there are zero cases for that. There will always be some exceptions, but I wanted to share that our experience we have seen in our family. We have not seen a single case in our own family, and then I know of a lot of friends and families that we know of who also do the same thing, and they have never experienced this, including our parents and grandparents and all. Like we have through generations have seen that, but I do acknowledge that there might be some remote cases, exceptions. But again, the question is that like even if you take a vaccine, there will be cases where people will have adverse reaction to the vaccine, but those adverse reaction would be like sub 1%, like fraction of a percent. But 99% of the times a vaccine is there to help you, right? So the question will be, would you take a vaccine or you would rather not take it, right? Would you be safe taking the vaccine or not? Because other things are exception. So probably you will understand that the kids are getting hurt are exception, where probably the parents were careless, or they have a very deep sleep that they do not know when they're sleeping as to where they are rotating in the bed, etc. So I can definitely understand in those cases. Or if you are extra cautious, etc., then probably go for it if you feel comfortable that way. I would like to go further on this and share that as these kids grow up, there is a kind of alienation that starts building up, because kids start seeing them having a separate space, even having their own room, and they start doing their own things. So that friendship that should be there between parents and the kids doesn't kind of develop. Like kids seem to find their friends in the school, etc. And another problem here in the US is primarily in any school that the kids go, even the teachers here do not teach anything. They leave the kids at their own antics. So if a kid is motivated, they want to study themselves, then that's great. But teachers are not going to push you. So what happens is that in India, the schooling system is that both parents and the teachers basically push children for education. So there is some kind of guidance and direction that a kid gets. Whereas here in the US, you're left to your own. So unless you're extremely motivated, you are not going to basically study, etc. So what this does is that even if there was an opportunity for you to like guide the kid or basically direct them towards a certain direction, you just don't get those opportunities, and kids just like keeps exploring whatever they want and continues to go in their direction in which they are. So the educational outcomes here in the US schools are extremely low or average or below average. Whereas if you compare them with the Indian school system, even though it has its own drawbacks, but at least the kids are extremely driven in India. Even the average kids there seem to perform better because they are given training, tuitions, and they have some kind of a focus. Again, that's a slightly like tangential topic, but what I wanted to say here is that in the US, when kids become, let's say, teenagers, like more around 15, 16 kind of thing, and they start touching like 18 years of age, they tend to like take a different home, rent a different apartment, move out of the family. Whereas in the Indian households, you will see that kids continue to stay with the parents even when they get a job, and if they are in the same city, most likely they are going to stay with them, no matter what the age is. It could be 22, 23, 24, 25, etc. In US, it is basically almost unimaginable that adult kid lives with the parent. In fact, it is seen in a very negative light. Only if a kid gets like fired, or they're not independent, they're not earning or successful, will they choose to like basically stay with their parents. But other than that, they don't. Again, this is very different because the culture is such that it has been built that you should not stay with your parents, you should have your own individual life, you should not live together. Again, this is very different in the Indian households. As I said, even after marriage, sometimes people tend to still live with their parents, or nearby them, not very far away. And there is another podcast that I made about joint family versus nuclear family, so you can check it out. But the crux of the matter is, it's always beneficial to have your parents and extended family nearby, even if it doesn't have to be in the same household. It could be in a like a same like adjacent apartments or adjacent homes nearby, but it has its own benefits. So having a, like a hybrid approach, that you're not together like in under the same roof, but you're close enough that you can basically get to meet each other on a kind of a daily basis, or whenever, how often you desire. uh, Another thing that I've seen here is that as basically people start aging, there is this concept of old age homes here in the India as well as in the US as well. uh, I have visited couple of them here in the US, in various locations. Generally, they charge you anywhere between like $5,000 to $6,000 a month, and they basically, so they call it as elderly care centers, and potentially they have like in-house nurses, doctors. They have cooked meals. And they have like all the washing, cleaning taken care of for them. So these are assisted living apartments that are there in all, pretty much all big metros, and generally, as I said, the rents are between like $5,000 to $6,000 a month. So as you can imagine, it's not like a small amount. So unless you are really moneyed, it will be very difficult for an elderly person to live by themselves and continue to pay 5 to 6 grand a month. While there are facilities, but they are independent. So I got a chance to visit one of these elderly care centers, assisted living centers. So when I got in there, the good part was that it was very bright. It was very neat and clean. Even I had food there. Food was also top notch, good quality. Everything was served on your table. So those were the good parts. But when I interacted with the inmates out there, the elderly folks living there, it almost felt that there was some kind of resentment in them. So on the face of it, they were good. They were so happy that we were younger, and we took our like toddler with us as well. They were also interested in talking to like my kid and ourselves as well. And everyone's eyes were brightened. Why I'm sharing that is that it is this is the feeling that we see when we go to India, meet our grandparents. Kids meet their grandparents, spend time with them. Basically, in the extended family system, this has always been a very important aspect, that the third generation meets with the first generation. So your children, when they meet with the grandparents, these are already three generations, right? Grandparents are aging, they are towards the end of their, like they are in the sunset years, whereas the younger kids are basically bringing up, coming up in life, etc. When you bring both these parties together, young kids bring a lot of energy, excitement, playfulness, etc., and the grandparents bring the wisdom and the warmth and the love and the care. So basically both of them complement each other. So that's what we even saw here in the, assisted living centers here in the US. Wherever we went, we just went to just check it out, like what is there, like how these are good, etc. So I'm going to say they're not bad places, right? So as I said, they had all the facilities, and if you have the money, that's great to be. So they had like a library, they had swimming pools, they had catered food, everything was like taken care of. So and a nice facility. But what they were missing was the family connect. The Because when you see all like older people, half of the people have like dementia, some people have some other like degenerative diseases in their mind, etc. So they have a negative outlook towards life, because they are day in and day out they are just meeting the same people, and most of the older stuff has some or the other ailment going on in their life. But whenever you bring and mix like the kids with the elderly people, it basically gives them a hope and a purpose. And for kids it's like a good playing thing, because for them also they get to know, okay, these are elderly people, they cannot run at my same speed. So each generation gets to know about the other, and it's a great kind of a chemistry between the two parties, actually. So that's another aspect I would like to focus, that possibly which we take for granted in India or the Indian household, where even your parents tend to stay with you even when they get older. There are cases wherein people basically will send the even their parents to old age homes even in India. But again, that's extremely rare. Like if the relationship is good, you are still having resources and means to take care of you and your family. Technically they live together or in the same household, or at least, as I said, nearby, where you can like have a constant kind of connectivity with your parents and your children all together. So what I wanted to focus and emphasize is that this family system and parenting style, one parenting style is to make an individual, you have confidence in your own abilities, you go conquer the world. That's also one approach, and it's great. And the other approach is about like interdependence, depend upon your parents, your siblings, respect each other. And that's what the joint family system or the parenting technique, that the Indian technique is. The beauty is that you can do hybrid, you can do both. So even with basically having a living with your parents and grandparents together, you can still have a parenting style where for certain aspects you can still instill confidence and independence in the kids, that they should have their own thoughts, they should have their own opinion. But then simultaneously they should also be open to hear what the other person has to say, what their perspectives are. Because it's not only about like what you think, it's also about what the other thinks. And it could be possible that when you hear some new perspective from the other's perspective, you can update your knowledge, you can alter your thought process. So nurturing that kind of thinking, that it's not always about you, but also looking at your parents, your siblings, like what they are thinking, what their feelings are, exchanging thoughts between them. So interdependence is also fine. Like you would see many times, whether it is marriage or whether it is internships, a lot of students depend upon their parents. Like I see even now, a lot of people depend upon their parents to get them like arranged marriage, or like get them grooms or like brides to like get forward with the marriage. Same way, when kids are graduating from schools, they are also looking for their parents and siblings and connections and networking to basically find a job and get like an internship and things like that. Even in the US, what do they show? Like you should be able to network. But you should not forget, your first network is your own home network, your mom, your dad, your sibling, your extended family, your grandparents, etc. So that network is already given to you because you were born there. So why not leverage that network as well? Why do you think that asking something from them or being with them is like completely not okay, when these people know you from your childhood? They would only have the best intentions for you. Yes, I can understand sometimes parents and grandparents and family can be overpowering. They can try to force their thoughts and ideas on you, so that I completely disagree with. So they should not do that, because you should treat everybody as an individual. That their individualistic personality is great, but you should also be able to hear the other perspective, the younger people, the elderly people, what they have to say, so that you can make a decision accordingly. So, in a nutshell, if I were to summarize all what we have discussed in the last 20 minutes or so today, is that it's okay to be confident and individualistic, etc. But it's also important to have interdependence. Not everything can be solved through individualistic and courage alone. Sometimes you need other people. Sometimes you are at a crossroad. You need different perspectives. Sometimes you need to know about different experiences, because, hey, maybe I have been working for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. I may not have seen every experience that exists out there. Not possible for anyone. So when I hear other people, their perspectives, whether it is from my dad, from my mom, my wife, my son, my siblings, etc., it gives me other perspectives, right? Then I can enhance my knowledge even further rather than experiencing everything myself. So your own experience also counts. Others' experience also counts, because you can learn certain things from there and then tailor it according to what your needs are and what your personality is. So I would encourage people should have confidence, independence, and also interdependence, and that starts from the very starting. So I'll encourage people to definitely think about whether they want to have their young kids sleeping separate from them or with them. Build strong bonds, have them courage to think independently, but also be humble enough to hear out what other people have to say, what their perspectives are. I think hybrid is a great approach. There is never like good or bad. Like everything can have its good approach and bad approach. It is up to us what we make out of it. So as we become like more global, and because of jobs, sometimes people have to live, like I live in the US, my parents live in Delhi, my wife's parents also live in like Delhi area, etc. So physically we are apart, but whenever, if you are in the same city and if you have the ability, it's better to be nearby, especially if you have good relationships. Of course, if the relationships are toxic, then this is not going to work. So I'm talking about the situation where people respect each other, they trust each other, the relationship is still nice. So thinking about this is very important, and that is the reason you will see a lot of suicide cases are there in the US, because people here become very solitary. They don't have anyone to like share their feelings with, or they cannot confide in anyone, because there's just too much of divorces. There is no concept of family. Maybe they may have friends, but friendship is very transactional, as we know. Anyone who has been in the industry knows that friendships nowadays are extremely transactional. So you can only go back to your family when you have any you are going low in your life, or you have health issues, or you need some kind of benefits and things along those uh, times. So it is very important that we have to build that interdependence upon people. It is very important to learn that a lot of people here also get a lot of mental issues here in the US, which is not the case in India, because you have this family fabric and ecosystem out there. So I'm not going to say that everything is like roses and milk and honey in India and there is no problem. You can see other of my podcasts. I've shared a lot of things around chalta hai attitude and corruption and pollution and things along those lines. Service mentality is also extremely poor in India. But then these family aspects, interdependence upon each other, respecting your elders, respecting your children, having multiple generations living together, and like having so many festivals where you basically eat, sit together, eat together, laugh together. This just creates a lot of bonding between people actually. And I can tell you for sure, here in the US, lot of people, especially immigrants, miss those kind of things. So we may go to a lot of festivals. You have like Holi, Diwali, many other kind of festivals here, but they are not the same. They're still transactional. You go to like a temple, like eat some food, come back, and that's about it. In India it's very different because you spend those times with your family members, you know those people, so you have all those good conversations, you eat food together. So in India you don't tend to go to so many temples and all. Here you have to go because you don't have anybody else to share those festivals with. So there is a big difference between like US culture and the India culture. And I wanted to highlight some of the things that we have got as a like a culture, as a part of tradition from an Indian ethnicity. Those are some things we can still cherish upon and even share it with other folks out here, because it has its own benefits. So I will leave today with this thought. Do write to me. Let me know what do you think. This is very important for mental health. It is very important to express your feelings. And in a family setup, when you feel interdependent, when you feel connected with others, you will be much more open to share your feelings, express your thoughts, and you'll have a better mental health than being very solitary and keeping to yourself and being just keeping everything inside you. That will generate a lot of stress. So I have also built another like a podcast on mental health, mental stress, suicides, etc. across the world. So this interdependence also helps in like tackling that basically. So that was all from my side. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll get back to you on another new video. Till then, take care. Have a nice day. If you continue to like this, continue to like it, share it, and subscribe it. Bye.